Hey, welcome back to the studio. Little tip of the day. Do yourselves a favor. Keep your palette clean. It should come as rather obvious, right? Finished with your palette at the end of your painting session, and unless you plan to paint the next day, oil paints specifically, uh, or within the next few hours or whatever, it would behoove you greatly to keep your palette clean. Wipe off the old paint, especially if you're using a medium like liquid or something like that, because it hardens really quickly. I don't know if you can see it on this palette, but it's got a little bit of a skin on it. And there you go, see? And I could, peel that off and use the little bit of usable oil paint that is under there, and it would work just fine. Of course, if it matters to you, you peel off that skin and go and stick it on your canvas, and then you might just get little, pieces of cured paint on your canvas, and then you got to pick it all off, stuff like that. It's a pain in the butt. But so yeah, it helps to keep your palette clean. Again, I'm not sure if you'll be able to see this or not, but it takes a considerable. I've got my finger on here and on the end of the palette knife here, and I'm applying a substantial amount of pressure. It takes a considerable amount of pressure to scrape that cured paint off, especially when you're using liquid. It's a great product. It really is. I highly recommend it. No, I'm not sponsored by Liquid. I'm not being paid by Winsor Newton or anybody else. I just particularly do like the product. Now I've got blue paint all over my finger. That's fun. But yeah, dude, it takes some considerable effort when that stuff is cured, because it gets pretty darn hard. Like, this paint's only been on my palette for a couple of days. Really not that long at all. But yeah, do yourselves a favor. Keep your palette clean. Yeah, there are ways that you can, extend the open time of your oil paints and things like that, and they work for the most part. There's sealable pallets that you can put your oil paints in and put them in the refrigerator or even the freezer, and they'll last for a little while longer, without developing that skin. They might still develop a little bit of a skin, but they're not, they'll be much more usable. But if you plan to leave your, if it's going to be a little while before you get back to your painting, and you don't plan on using it the paints the very next day, because they develop a skin within a day or so, or at least in my experience they do, particularly with the fact that I use as much liquid as I do. Yeah, it definitely behooves you greatly to clean your palette. Just, yeah, scrape off that paint that you aren't using, that you didn't use in your prior painting session, and either, properly dispose of it safely, or use it to create an abstract. For crying out loud, you can take this old, thick, chunky paint that's cured already, phthalo blue here, and you can throw that into an abstract as is, nice and chunky. It'll give you a lot of really great, wonderful, beautiful, random textures and random depth that you wouldn't otherwise get, random shadows and light play and stuff like that. It's fantastic. Or you can just throw it away in a paper towel. Okay, well, I probably shouldn't recommend that you throw it away in a paper towel You should dispose of your oil paints properly, of course. I don't need any trolls telling me how to dispose of the oil paints. You know. But yeah, I don't know if you can hear this or not. I'm scraping away pretty good on my palette here to remove this phthalo blue. It's an expensive paint, by the way, phthalo blue, depending on the manufacturer. It's a single pigment paint. I don't have the tube on hand at the moment to tell you what. Wait a minute, yeah, I do, yeah, I do. I think it has the pigment number on this tube. Yeah, I can't read that, not without glasses. But anyway, yeah, just keep your palette clean. Clean the old paint off at the end of your painting session unless you plan to reuse it the next day or within the next few hours or whatever. Also, it cultivates better habits. Again, on my previous video, I mentioned, that I have a lot of poor habits and I'm trying to get those better. This is another one of them. Anyway, if you like this kind of rough content, unedited, haphazard scheduling, all that kind of stuff, do me a favor, smash that like button, hit the subscribe if you would be so kind, and oh yeah, don't forget to hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of my future videos, and yeah, have a day.